Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting and riveting and amazing Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane. The one, the only Master Propaganda, hero of Psych Defender of the Fatherland, off you to a glorious, wondrous 1v1 own Vilshanka. In the west, it is Leng Mo fighting for the German army, Deutschland. Here with the 16th Panzergrenadier Division with Mechanized, Spearhead and Lightning War. On the east it is Angreifen fighting for the Red Army, the Soviet Union, Comrade Stalin. And the 5th Tank Corps here with Guard Motor, Lend-Lease and Airborne Troops. Grenadiers, MD-42s versus WNES Conquers here for Angreifen. So far, fairly standard build orders here from both sides. Nothing wildly out of the ordinary here. And as always, a big hearty thanks to my Patreon supporters of wonderful people and all who keep the Propagandacast going. So big thanks to all those. Other people can join the heroic ranks by pledging on Patreon, or they can donate via PayPal. That will also be very helpful. Links in the description for that. And finally, just comment, like, share, subscribe. Helps keep the Propagandacast going by, getting the YouTube algorithm to spread my word a bit more. So, more countries here. We got Sparta in the centre here. Angreifen, of course, looking to secure the centre against any fascist advances. And also crucially just make it hard for him to use that particular piece of cover. Grab the point here. Could have caused also, in fact, he's also wide off there, so yeah. Troops arriving here, of course, going to use into the cover they prepared for themselves. In the south, the engineers grab the southern field point. Again, note all the barbed wire here to make either harder for the opponents to get some stuff going. The Reds, they could, of course, still use the heavy cover there once they grab the point, but that point gets a bit more complicated. Then again, he may still lay down the barbed wire, or just lay down more barbed wire overall. MD-42 push back the comps in the centre. Merciless fire here from Leng Mo's MD-42 crew. North here point mixes with the Pioneers. Second is got there for Leng Mo. Bit of skirmishing around the centre. Looks like Angreifen is slightly figuring out if he wants to push into the centre where he knows the MD-42 is. He's going to try and keep the Germans occupied there. In the south, the engineers moving forward. Some more barbed wire here. Again, looking to make it as hard as possible for the opponents to find any easy purchase on Soviet terrain here. Third country there for Angreifen, certainly with this kind of opening. Very likely Guard Motor. There could be Lend-Lease or Airborne Troops still. Mechanized here with command tanks, 250 half-tracks, vehicle critical repair, spotting scopes, and the howitzer here from Leng Mo. Northern point being seized. And a third Grenadier squad for Leng Mo. Very much standard Wehrmacht build order. Grenadiers pumping through the south there. Going to try and push for that southern vector point. We've got Angreifen's conscripts here, ready to be supported by the engineers here. That's definitely the Grenadiers significantly outnumbered and outgunned. In the centre here, MD-42 catching the conscripts there as Angreifen tries to sneak off there. Of North Pioneers diving in, they're conquering for the northern field point as well here. And we can see most front line is extensively overextended here versus Angreifen. And not a lot of great points to fight from. So a bit of a tough one. In that said, he is able to gain some minor local tactical superiority up north here with the Pioneers upon the Grenadiers here, sending off Angreifen's troops. But the rest of the front line is looking pretty hairy here, though we do get the third Grenadier squad arriving here, allowing to obviously somewhat solidify his holdings for now. But the question is how long can he keep this up here, depending on how Angreifen hits back. Of course, one option he could consider would be going for a fourth Grenadier squad here that definitely have more infantry in the field than Angreifen, which could allow him to actually gain map control if he plays his cards correctly. He could also take up. That's exactly what he's got to do there. Thumbs up to that. I think both were eminently viable options there, but there are definitely some Wehrmacht players who will go for 4 Grenadiers because if the third opponent, of course, goes for 3 conflict Grenadiers, they will be vulnerable to the 4 Grenadier build, as they won't be able to manage that much German infantry, in particular if it is backed up by the MD-42 as well. So, tech here for Angreifen, the support company. Carve point being as well, they're very good. I mean, you can, fortify this as much as you want, but the carve point is still very easy to hit there. South Beacon is going for the victory point there. We've seen how Leng Mo's managed to switch the game in his favour. For now, at least, we've got medics up there for Angreifen. And you see we've got 2 conscripts, in fact 3 conscripts northwards there. Looks like Angreifen has decided to make a push for the northern field point. We can see there Leng Mo is responding here, trying to get his force into position to stop this. Angreifen is keeping his troops fairly close to the centre where he knows the MD-42 is, at least should have a fairly good suspicion. And we do get a 4th Grenadier squad for Leng Mo, though he's also taking up, so going for a mix of the two, I suppose. Though I think if you're going to go for tech first, you might as well then go for a Panzer Grenadier squad. I feel like they tend to get overlooked a lot. A third option could also be actually going for the 250 half-tech, not as popular necessarily, but I think a 250 half-tech also adds some pressure to Angreifen in the early game, offers them another source of suppression, can get their veterans, can force his troops, and works really well with Panzer Grenadiers with any upgraded troops. So I'd say there's like plenty of options for Leng Mo to go for, and again, 4th Grenadier Squad is of course very solid, but it is perhaps also a little less exciting. Anyways, Grenadier Wing 14 no upgrades yet. We do like to make a nice company up, probably a 2-2 here for Leng Mo. There we go. Leichte Panzer Speerwagen 222. News in the center here. That's one of numerous armored cars based off that particular chassis there, the 221. You also had the 223, and then there was a more unofficial version that actually mounted a light anti-tank gun on it. Fun fact there. Another fun fact about the 222 is actually based off a more, shall we say, unarmored car design. They're still kind of military, but still, you know, not exactly for frontline usage, but they basically just up-armored it, and that's how I got the 221 to the 223. So, fun fact there. In fact, a lot of the early German light vehicles are just basically utility vehicles that got armored up. The half-track, for example, was just a tractor. Half-track, that is. They got up-armored, for example. Half-track there for Angreifen, the M5, so that'll be the Corp mount. No guardsmen as of yet. We got the Conqueror up north here. Light machines up there for Leng Mo as well here. So far, heading back on the fuel point there. Angreifen has done a lot for some defended, like no mines, sandbags, making it very easy for Leng Mo to like just dive in and then run back once he's got the point of the neutral, messing here with Angreifen's fuel economy. North there points being expertly seized. We've also got some S-mines down here, and we can see there's someone actually died in it. There you go, reconnecting the fuel again. The half-ton 40 Corp mount is on the way. And the conscript shouting at the Grenadiers here, rushing ahead for the Red Army. After they're firing away. And it's taking losses. Up north, we've got the armored car there. We go rifle grenade off completely, though. Whiffs on the engineers. And there you go, still pushing the back with the arrival of the armored car. Coming northward, still no commander here for Angreifen. In the center, they're half there with the conscript support pushing back the Grenadiers. They are unable to respond to that much firepower. They'll shoot faster. How fast? Has he got 4 machine guns on that thing? 4! You're like 4 guys with rifles. Set quick move half-tech northwards. There we go, quick retreat. But that said, it might actually be too late here, as the half-tech has excellent DPS against even retreating unity, in particular if they retreat across negative cover. Looks like here Leng Mo's able to pull them back. No Pack 40 or a second armored car here. Of course, he might be waiting for the Pack 40, obviously. That said, 2 222s can take on a half-track, though. Again, the terrain here makes it a bit tough. A lot of ways for the armored cars to take, be caught up in the terrain, and the 2 222s already have some of the more questionable pathing issues at times. So, we're strictly enforcing here. They got the medic bunker up there for Leng Mo. Still no commander there for Angreifen. A bit surprising. Like, typically, again, with this kind of build rule and everything, he'd like have gone for Guard Motor by now for some guardsmen. But Angreifen, interestingly enough, is not committing to it. Meanwhile, Leng Mo, I imagine, is going to go for that Pack 40 in a few moments here. The Panzer Abwehrkanone 40. Got Veterans 1 name before 2. That's, of course, an excellent piece of veterancy there, with the Incendium fusion rounds being really good if you remember how to use them. And there we go. Angreifen at the 8-minute mark goes for Guard Motor. T-35s, heavy mortars, which he just caught one in off, Guards Rifle Infantry, Vehicle Crew Repair Training, and of course Marked Vehicle. A mortar, of course, being a potent mortar there, obviously the best mortar in the game. North here we got the conk pushed back, and so on a map like Vilshanka, which is already fairly narrow. I mean, the heavy mortar gets even better because it can cover a significant chunk of the map from a fairly relatively safe position there. So that's definitely going to make things tougher there for Leng Mo here. And of course, very nice for Angreifen. British putty for the half-track. Jürgen there completely ripped apart there. Armor car moving in. Of course, needing mindful of anti-tank grenades. So it's worth noting Angreifen didn't research them at all. North Econ has been good progress there for the German army. Pack 40 on the move here. In the south, half-track moving in there. Ready to claim the south here from the Germans. Got minesweepers by the Leng Mo's Pioneers. Thumbs up. I don't think he's seen a single mine from Angreifen run into it, but at the same time, against a Soviet player, you typically want to assume they're going to lay down mines at some point or the other. Because if you don't, it can quickly get uncomfortable, particularly since your squad's a 4-man, meaning one mine can just quickly render half squad gone, and that's going to be a significant drop there. So, as the Wehrmacht in particular, you really want mines against the Soviets because your squads really can't absorb the losses without having to retreat immediately up north here. Quickly push back here, strong defense here by Angreifen, the Red Army, backed up, of course, here by the heavy mortar. Get the skirmish in the south here, counter retreating there. Mortar for Leng Mo in response to the heavy mortar. That's going to be a tough matchup because the heavy mortar obviously decides to bombard. The German mortar can, you know, do heavy damage, whereas the regular mortar is going to struggle a bit there in part due to the heavy mortar being larger, but also having an easier chance to retreat because they animate it with only really needing one man to operate it, which is still a bit interesting why they did that. But either way, they have done that. They have tried to nerf it, but ultimately they ended up buffing, and again they tried to apply some other nerfs, and it's just, you know, incredibly good. Because part of the problem is it's just so easy to get out there. We're also packing a lot of firepower. Smoke deployed there. Thumbs up to Angreifen, of course, very good there. Pack 40 moving in. And they got the guards wrapped into infantry with the DP light machine guns. Nice hit on the heavy armor cover, the heavy mortar. DP light machines up, mortar they're joining in. May want to spread it out a bit from the other support weapons because, you know, when you bunch up stuff like this, you're very much creating a large, very large target for the opponent's heavy mortar. So you want to definitely not, like, bunch up your support weapons like this. Obviously it makes it easy for you to manage, but it also makes it easy for your opponent to manage with artillery. That's like the thing you always got to keep in mind. There you go, find some mines here from Angreifen. South here, a few kilometers here, sneaking up there from the 6th Panzer Grenadier Company. Uses the grenadiers in the centre. Back at base, we got take there for Leng Mo, thumbs up. And so Angreifen, you could certainly take up, soon start picking up with the conscripts, of course, with the mobilised reserves ability, which is really, really good. More light machine than for Leng Mo's grenadiers, which is also quite good. Mortar fire there, landing from both sides on the same point, but only the German mortars do any damage, I think. At least the heavy mortar does very little friendly fire damage. Unfortunately, the game is a bit inconsistent when it comes to friendly fire. Some things just do full damage, others do next to no damage, and some do no damage at all. But there you go. Mechanized Armor Company for Angreifen, the Red Army, the 5th Tank Corps up north. They're controlling up because they're moving in. They got a hot mine that's spotted in time. Thumbs up. But there's the half track nearby, and sadly, the minesweeper, while helpful versus mines, is less helpful versus half tracks. More today with 3 kills so far, obviously not bad at all. Very nice and consistent use of the barrage ability as well there by Leng Mo. Some players tend to be less keen on using the mortar barrage, but it's definitely how you get the most out of mortar because the auto-fire the mortars have is on purpose not particularly efficient. In fact, there used to be a point when it was, and it turns out people just go for 2 mortars and then not just do all the work. So they kind of switch it towards having to use the barrage ability more. Continuing up here, engagement 4 is going to finish that mine. South side, I mean, if you push it for a panzer fast, you could like break open the southern half of the map here, push for the fuel point easily. Some they're constantly hit by the German mortar, got veterans 1 on it, which does open up for counter barrage. Of course, Cookie's planning to use that to maybe somehow hope to deal with the heavy mortar that way, without having to invest too much attention into it. Hard to say here what Leng Mo is scheming in that direction. But he is crucially building the Supremo Corps there, so not trying to solve for something bigger. Which I think versus the Soviets, in particular against a player like Angreifen here, could prove to be a bit of a bad call. But a Panther 4 could of course put plenty of pressure to Angreifen, of course with Guard Motor back. Some Stugs against the T-3035s would be very handy as well. But there you go, Panther 4 firstly for Leng Mo. And the 16th Panzer Grenadier Division. Note most Panzer Grenadier Divisions really didn't have any panzers to them. They most would have had some Stugs attached to them, though. As the war went on, roughly by 1945, there were some organizational changes made that basically just meant Panzer Divisions and Panzer Divisions were just the same organizationally wise. They both each have 1 Panzer Battalion. So, you know, little fun side note there. There were also some elite Panzer Divisions that actually had some armor, and some that received armored units from disbanded elements that way gained some armor there. So, you know, of course, not quite as clear cut, obviously, but for the most part, they basically had Stugs for their armor elements. After the pushback, the Gunners in the south, up north here, pushing forward for the Red Army. Outmaneuvering here, the MD-42 there, Leng Mo will certainly find him mostly in trouble there if he doesn't put a stop to that swiftly. And there you go, Panzerkampfwagen figure effects right here for Leng Mo and for Deutschland. Russians rushing away there in the face of a Leng Mo's counterattack here. Got the half coming up. We do get an HD5 here for Angreifen. That's an interesting choice here. Most players I think would have gone for the T-35, but I think indicated Angreifen perhaps wants to play it a bit safe here versus Leng Mo, or he's got something else figured out. But I'll wait. HD5 first is definitely unusual. But it does obviously have really good range here. So that might be part of it. Guardsman dealing with the Panther 4. It's also worth knowing, by the way, Angreifen has not a single field gun here. Like, he's got the guard squad with a pair of, you know, anti-tank rifles, and that's it for the time being. So, of course, that could be another reason he's actually going for the HD5 here. And it's supposed to be been like, either hit hard bomb before he's ready for it. He might even go for the H-6M. Angreifen has shown himself to be like one of those few players who actually makes use of the H-6M. Leng Mo here with the second pack 40 could be an indicator he wants to store for tier 4 next. There you go, HD5 tanks are out there. North here, Panther was the advancing sort of infantry under Angreifen's command there. Pinlock machine gun add. He does have the spotting scope. Got the second pack 40 almost done. And now he's adding the pinlock machine gun. Almost got a wipe there on Angreifen's conscript squad there. But fought for Angreifen. Fate intervenes and keeps at least Dimitri alive. Back here, trip reinforcing. No tech yet. I mean, he could also be just went for the second pack 40 because he was being a bit uncertain against Angreifen. But typically, if they suddenly go for like 2 pack 40s like that, it feels, my experience is they're typically stalling for tier 4. But we'll have to see. Leng Mo could, of course, have some surprises in store for us there. H5 though so far I think has yet to be real to Leng Mo. Of course, he might have spotted it with his spotting scopes. Particularly the 2 with spotting scopes has a fair amount of line of sight here. That show that. See, they get out. You can see a fair amount of distance there. A fair amount of distance. South he can lead squad definitely retreat in the face of the half track. North he got the Panther as the guardsman dug in. Gonna need some support there to flash out those Sowed infantry unless the Panther gets lucky, because the shots definitely are not lucky so far. Got the H5 rushing northwards here for Angreifen. But later make the H-5M, mostly because they were planning to make the H-100, but the gun was not ready. And so, while they had the chassis for the H-100, they didn't have the guns, so they just made the H-5M, which was basically a more heavily armoured and larger H-5. So, fun fact there. South here points living Seaspun engineers. The issue of 100 itself will only arrive at like the very end of the war. So, little fun note there. Panther fixed up. We got the control of the Gundis and setting up as well here against the Sowed infantry under Angreifen's command. South here, Gundis engineers. Back here, Fort Leng Mo. A bit of quad here, no tier 4, but no immediate armor either. As for Angreifen, he's certainly a bit struggling with fuel here versus the Germans. But I'm guessing a T-35 next again. Could also be the Katyusha, since, you know, typical Soviet meta game is to go for a tank and then the Katyusha, but he's not going for a tank, so there might be more, you know, again, divergence here from Angreifen compared to the typical Soviet meta. North of Panther roaming about here, catching this guard squad here behind some shrubberies and trees before pushing them back there with some excellent, semi-excellent gunnery. South can claim the point. H5 responding here slowly as the troops move forward, catching it. Leng Mo's pack forwards in a pretty brazen maneuver. And quickly, particularly get caught on negative cover. The conscript, very good chance to quickly wipe. That's definitely pretty bad there for Leng Mo. And highlights, he should have done some bit better reconnaissance than before in the Pack 40s as aggressively did. Up north, Panther will push back on the Conqueror 5. We do get a second Panther 4 for Leng Mo. It starting to look like MT4 here, but he does go for the second Panther 4. Not a bad choice that at all. Particularly combined with some smoke syntax, I think making a push here. Of course, there are mines about here from Angreifen to counter exactly that. H5 takes out the 2-2 there. Excellent work there by Angreifen. South Victor Point makes his back, but the Grenadiers further south in the New Squad holding up here. Not a lot of additional mines here for Angreifen. Also at this point, Leng Mo strongly should consider some more pioneers, because one pioneer squad to repair like multiple tanks. I think it's going to be too slow. Obviously there's vehicle critical repair, but relying on that one too much could drain him munitions that could be used on other things as well, like, you know, mines, grenades, incendiary armor pierce rounds to the M32, Blitzkrieg first Panzer Force wants to get there, so while obviously you can use it to some degree, I don't think you should be relying on it too hard either. So I definitely think he should be bringing more pioneers in the near future, and the South half than it is. And he goes for the T-34-6 rather than the T-34-85. An interesting choice there by Angreifen. I think most players here would have gone for the T-35, since it is overall more durable, still has good anti-infantry, and can also take on tanks fairly well. So that's not to say, of course, the T-34-6 is bad. It's just, you know, a slightly surprising choice considering his commander choice. There we go, T-34-6 ready. Up north there, quick advance by Leng Mo is going to use broaching Soviet territory here. Heading more to the Stalemate, 8 kills closing in MT3, 6 kills and close to 82 down the Connaughton Alpha. Rapidly dispatching the Panther southwards, so again a bit limited infantry support. I mean, he does have 4 Grenadier squads, but they don't quite seem to be a lot of the time where the actual tanks are. Which is certainly great for Angreifen, makes it easy to push it back. Center the MV42 Grenadier support was the conscript here quickly halting Angreifen. Very wisely just picks up the conscripts, and obviously they're going to do nothing next except just bleed and feed Leng Mo experience, which is typically not what you want to do in the south. Here, another engagement about to happen here. Panthers and pioneers grab the southern victory point here. We got 391 versus 215 in this regard. Leng Mo has a significant victory point lead over Angreifen. North here, more mortified there, trying to silence the German support. We got all the delayed fuse, high explosive bombs there. We've seen the force reposition. German mortar remains fairly quiet. No counter barrage, no trying to get closer, no barraging at all. Seems like the most kind of forgotten about his mortar here, which is certainly a little less inefficient. The South East Panthers engineers trying to grab that southern victory point, but they're facing a rather intense resistance by that Panther 4, and I think Angreifen is going to have to treat them, because that's just going to be like a waste on manpower. So the Angreifen lines up for another push here. He's lost a conscript, by the way. Great kill there for Leng Mo. And you will need to replace that. Hey, Mortifier, that is definitely some heavy damage here. 2 Leng Mo's forces again bunching up here. Definitely risky there. Very risky, and the German mortar remains fairly uninvolved in a sense. Oh, we do get the counter barrage ability now, which is honestly not that great though.
Well done. We have forced the enemy down to 200 points. The squad of pioneers has arrived.
South here we got the Grenadiers moving forwards. North here going to bring about the half-track coming up here as well. There you go. Did push back the hay mortars, not too bad there. In World War II, counter-artillery was a rather involved element there, requiring a lot of different elements working together to, like, you know, figure out where the enemy artillery was and all that. And the Germans were actually themselves trying to set up different ways of, like, messing with enemy artillery detection, so they could that way, you know, draw away artillery fire away from the actual artillery. They basically set up fake artillery in a sense there, which was certainly quite the achievement. T-Fed wasn't going to hit on his mortar. Need to pull back that mortar crew before it gets swiped. Definitely think got a bit too close to the front line here. But also, like, the way he positions, like, right smack dab in the center of the map. Like, he should have taken a bit more further for the south or perhaps the north. But I think right here, like, you know, where there's clearly intent from the enemy to keep bombarding. Position the enemy, his own mortar there seems a bit questionable. Going for coH2 here now. Slight return as opposed to the more typical sword meta game here from Angreifen. Meanwhile, we've got Leng Mo with a howitzer, so this match is definitely turning to an artillery match here between the two. Leng Mo's had enough. He's not going to ask nicely anymore. He's just going to try and, you know, hammer that mortar into oblivion. In the south here, Panther catching the half take, could take it out. There's going to be a great kill here for Leng Mo and for Deutschland, but no half track narrowly escapes the Angreifen. Breathes a sigh of relief as he sees the half track trundle into his base, mostly intact. Meanwhile, coH2 is almost on there for Angreifen, so again, both players are ramping up the artillery, just slightly different directions. Guessing he's going to hammer either the base or the heavy mortar here, or the trees. Mostly these trees and squirrels here getting absolutely obliterated by the howitzer, but no Soviets. They're pretty much all safe. Got the pack for the game. It's a good shot on the T-34 from 6. Bit of light skirmishing in the south. S-mines here from Leng Mo to cover up the centre victory point against any advantage of Angreifen. Of course, mortar fire and mine sweeps can of course deal with that to some degree. North side's not seeing too much action here. And Leng Mo's got quite a bit of fuel float here, but he's also more or less at full pop cap now. Looks like his draggy so far is basically to, you know, slowly beat out Angreifen, which of course is going to come down to Angreifen's to make a successful push against Leng Mo and deliver, you know, some real damage. One option actually to launch, I think, a flank assault from the north. I think Leng Mo is looking pretty weak there. Like, he's got all of his eyes on the center, so like the north side could be like an excellent direction to attack from here from Angreifen. He could of course also swing up through the south, like go this way and get behind, but I think you should either take one of those two paths here, or undercover smoke a push for the center could possibly also, like, you know, debilitate Leng Mo. Leng Mo, meanwhile, there, of course, wants to beat out Angreifen farther since faster, sends troops further northwards here to grab the victory point there. Very good. In the center, Angreifen is moving ahead here, using the engineers to basically probe here and scout ahead. South here, small force it could be dispatched to put pressure on Angreifen field point here. Angreifen needs something, I think, soon. He's starting to really run out victory points, and Leng Mo is starting to suddenly dominate the field more and more. Good shot, but he should found in the Panther 4. Punches cleanly through the side armor there. And we've got heavy mortar bombs here. Delayed fuse on the mortar. Wiping here Leng Mo's mortar. An excellent kill there. Howitzer's finally landing some kind of kill. If you choose to be careful. Got 4 kills on it. Going to lead up north. Looks like he managed to finally wipe him Leng Mo as well. Oh, this is... Whew, that could have gotten very ugly there for Angreifen. He's all been pushed back to his base more or less. Push the Grenadiers off the northern point. Grenade in the wake of the Trini Grenadiers. 100 points left. Angreifen needs something fast here versus Leng Mo. Rushing in the counters, wanting to put an end to that Panther 4, but also defend the car plane. We got Molotovs unleashed. H4 move here. T-34 6 holding back. Can soon go for Moram. In fact, he can go for another T-34 6 now. Of course, he may also want to go for the T-34 instead. But I definitely think something needs to be done. Meanwhile, Leng Mo's down to get into some more trouble. They're almost losing another Grenadier squad here up north. Guardsmen of the Panther 4 will need to tank the source support immediately because the Guardsmen in negative cover are not exactly what you call favor there. Go buttoning it up. The Panther 4 they could also mark it. They should fire though, and T-34 moving forward here. Packs are set up here, but oh, close one there. We got 14 kills there on the Ace mortar. Hasn't accrued his own mortar. We got the Howitzer with 3 kills. Calf point hit again. Angreifen needs something drastic here. This is Leng Mo. And I do mean drastic. And also needs to repair his armor. He's got plenty of munitions. I think he can afford here to like do some sort of repairs. We got another T-34 60 for Angreifen. Delayed fuse mortar bombs. They're completely away from their packs as Leng Mo has very rapidly repositioned them to avoid, well, artillery fire, I imagine. coH2 ready to fire as well here. T-34 signal traumas on for Angreifen. Bit of quiet here, but Angreifen I think is definitely going to come up with some sort of like really powerful attack here. I think that just shatters Leng Mo. Can he do that? 75 points, 74 points left. We got a T-54 almost on there for Angreifen. One pack shot hits and penetrates the Aegis frontal armor. Heavy mortar, the 14 kills still. There you go, Katyusha barrage off in the center. Going for the pack 40. If you could wipe them out with the Katyusha, that could definitely leave Leng Mo in a really, really bad spot. But no, the pack's up to the way of the Katyusha was simply too far away to get, I think, sufficient accurate fire in there. In the center, grenades pushing back the Grenadiers here, almost getting them wiped out. In fact, T-34's on the move here as Leng Mo's center is actually getting a bit, well, messed up here. And there you go, Mark vehicle on the Panther. The T-34 some 6 is diving in here. The pack's being rushed northwards from the Copper Infantry. We got the Panther, we got Constable in here. Things are pretty fluid here and highly mobile. Panther 4, they're gaining message, but again, with Mark vehicle, it goes down all the same. We got mortar fire there on the info to the delayed fuse there. It is an absolute backrash on of an assault here against Leng Mo. His forces are being demolished, his packs are being wiped, his machine gun crews are being ripped apart with a single push here. Angreifen may have just completely crippled Leng Mo, possibly. I mean, he's just lost all his Panther 4s too, his packs, his machine guns. He's now just going to need his Pioneers and a Howitzer, and the Howitzer is about to go up in flames as well here. Really just highlighting what a good executed attack can do, and also just, you know, the power of T-34s and 6s, thanks to all the DPS. Got the H5 there, driving past the burning wreckage of the Panther 4 here. Suddenly, Leng Mo went from winning to losing in a matter of minutes. Highlighting, he really can't afford to feel comfortable around the Soviets, because a good Soviet player can very quickly turn things around there, since again, they pack a lot of firepower and a lot of the units, like a lot of burst damage. Almost got the Howitzer destroyed. He does have Panther 4 up, but he's going to need more armor fast. He's going to need more troops. And he's going to need a lot of firepower to not get a push back here. Leng Mo. We got 16 kills in the heavy mortar. Howitzer wrecked. And he's firing the heavy mortar bombs straight into Leng Mo's base here. Almost got the medic bunker wrecked here. And the pack's been destroyed, of course, as well here. So right now, Leng Mo's options are fairly limited. But there you go. He's going for the heavy mortar. He might just be able to wipe it out here. That would certainly help Leng Mo a bit. In particular, he can run off with it. But the trick is going to be able to grab it here, as I imagine Angreifen is not going to let it go. Raft grenades in the Compton there. Heavy losses. Dmitry, Yevgeny, Konstantin, and Petrov. They get blasted into hell. But it's not enough. There you go. Katyusha fire catches all of Leng Mo's infantry bunched up. He's already on the precipice, and Angreifen is violently trying to throw him over it. But narrowly avoids wipes. But even then, that's 2 Grenadier squads at a crucial time sent packing into the base here. Grenadier squad at the center almost wiped out with the T-34s and 6s. Their excellent anti-infantry damage, of course, continuing to do them greatly hit as the infantry. Meanwhile, Leng Mo's working the Panther 4, the Grenadiers, but he also needs more armor. He desperately needs more armor. T-34s and 6s on the move. He's going to try and take out the Panther 4. He's trying to catch the Pioneers and extra maybe. May just work out, and there you go. Pioneers retreating, spots the T-34s and 6, gets a shot off here. 391 versus 64. Angreifen still needs to grab more victory points, though. He also needs more infantry, I would argue. We'll have to see. T-34s and 6 using the self-repair. We got more engineers here for Angreifen. Katyusha's almost done to fire again. Up north, the Panther 4's on the move here. We got another medic bunker up for Leng Mo with medics. I think the timing for a medic bunker here is a bit questionable. He needs more armor. Like, I would strongly recommend some Sturmgeschütze. Hey, mortar recruit here by the conscripts. Finally grab the center victory point. There we go. Panther 4 there. Veterans 1 of 5 killed. We've got the H5. They're halfway to the Ace, rushing forwards. Guards are being met here with a hail of vicious left by the Grenadiers, but the T-34-6 arrives to the scene and pushes back Leng Mo's infantry. So much bunched up that they are easy targets here for Angreifen's T-34-6. And so with that, Leng Mo is finding himself to the base where the heavy mortar is back at it. Angreifen does not let up. He shows no mercy. He does not know what mercy is, because it's not in his Stalinist dictionary. Nor is disobedience. Imagine that. Anyways, pack 40 there for Leng Mo. I really think he needs Stokes. Like, he needs something with speed and mobility. And the packs have neither. Southern Point we see with the conscripts. Panther on the move as well here for Leng Mo. Half-track from the EC, 11 kills. But now half-track's been great here for Angreifen as well. Now the Katyusha barrage. I imagine right into the base here. Nope. Oh, yeah, it is. Alongside Immortals, wiping the Pioneers. Grenadier squad about to go up down. That's probably his second medic bunker destroyed in like a matter of minutes. Oh dear, and there's going to be more wipes. We got the half-track and the T-34 flying to the base here of Leng Mo. Leng Mo is still fighting, by the way. I thought he'd actually just dumped out here, but he is still fighting. He believes in NC. Or at least the political officer behind him is. And he's more than happy to remind Leng Mo of that with his Luger. That was a hell of a comeback here from Angreifen. Like, he went from, like, you know, being about to lose to, well, winning hard. Which really just highlights, again, against the Soviets you really cannot relax. Against the Soviets it's not over until it's over. Until then you absolutely like, need to like, assume they can turn the game around in the blink of an eye. Going to be pushed back with the half to the T-34 from 6, and there you go, overdrive into the base. They're going to go for that Pack 40 here. The Panther 4 is trying to move back, but again it's going to close up to more fire here from the Surge. One shot goes through here, almost got the half track, maybe finally, there you go. Small bit of relief here for Leng Mo, but the heavy mortar is quick to snuff that out as it wipes his Pack 40. Most of his troops are dead, he's got no Pioneers left. His Grenadiers are dying at an incredible rate as well here. It is a completely disaster situation for Leng Mo and the German army. South there alone, pair of Grenadiers heading for the southern victory point. And probably by extension, eventually, Argentina. Up north here, Panther 4 almost knocked out, and there you go, Leng Mo surrenders, GG, game over. A hell of a fight here with a hell of a comeback here from Angreifen, again just highlighting the sheer power of the Soviets once they go on the offensive. The T-34s, but also the T-5, they really just allowed them to deal heavy damage, went backed up by the heavy mortars, and some good sword infantry. So that was a really good push here, catching, I think, a complacent Leng Mo off guard, as always, don't relax around the Soviets. So, hope you enjoyed this match, I learned something from it. If you did, subscribe, like, share, comment on it, tell friends, tell the family, but don't tell enemies. This is Imperial Links and cheers. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow again for another episode. Bye.